a deals and advertising focused open class, and the timing could not be more critical. South Africa's very first Prime Day is happening from the 23rd to the 29th of June, and that is 2 weeks away from today. Deal submissions close tomorrow, the 10th of June, and your FBA inbounding deadline is the 15th of June. Joining me, we have Nicholas and Moa, both from our Seller Success teams, to talk to us a little bit about deals and ads and how you can make the most of this time period. So if you have questions about deals, advertising, Prime Day readiness, or anything else related to selling on Amazon, this is the session to ask them. We have collected the most common questions from our previous webinars, and we are going to work through them today. And then we'll open the floor for anything else that you want to ask. So before we get started, let's do some quick housekeeping before we dive in. First and foremost, your questions go in that chat box below us. Drop them in at any time. You do not need to wait for the end of today's session. My moderators and myself will be keeping an eye on everything that comes in, and we will address the most common questions as we go. The chat is moderated, which means when you type a question, it comes to us first and we publish it so everyone can see it. This works really very well because you'll see what other people are asking in terms of similar topics, and it creates that proper conversation. You don't have to worry at all. Your cameras and your microphones are automatically set to off. This is intentional, so you won't accidentally pop up on screen, and we won't hear you whether you are joining us from work, from home, in the commute, or anywhere you are on the planet Earth or beyond. You are completely safe. Today's focus is on deals and advertising, especially with Prime Day around the corner, but all of our questions are welcome, or your questions rather. And if you have something burning about listings, fulfillment by Amazon, FBA, account health, your payments, ask it and we will get into it. Like I said, we've got about 60 minutes together, and I will work through those preceded questions first. And these are real questions from sellers in previous sessions. And then, like I said, we'll open up the floor to anything else. One very critical thing to note, though, your deal submissions close tomorrow, the 10th of June. So if you haven't submitted your deals yet, you need to do it today or first thing tomorrow morning. There is no extension on this particular deadline. And then last but not least, of course, a recording of this session will be available on our Sell on Amazon YouTube channel. So let's get into it. Right, so you might be asking yourself, if this is the first open class session that you've come to, what exactly is open class? Well, this is our monthly open Q&A format. Unlike other regular webinars where we focus on one specific topic like FBA or listings, open class is driven entirely by your questions. We go through the questions that come up most frequently across all of our sessions, across seller support contacts, and across the feedback that you give us in the surveys. We rank them and we work through them live. And today, like I said, we are placing that special focus on deals and advertising because of Prime Day. South Africa's first ever Prime Day is 2 weeks away, and there are critical deadlines that you need to hit. So we are going to cover the deal-related questions first with Nick, and then, of course, those advertising questions with Moa, and then open it up for anything else. And please do not stress if we do not get to your questions today. It does feed into next month's session, and this runs every month. Same format, your questions, our answers. Very importantly also is knowing when you are getting stuck, the order of operations as to how to get yourself unstuck. And if you follow these tips, you will get to a resolution much faster. Your first step should be searching SellerCentral using that search bar at the top. Type your issue in plain language, for example, shipping plan error, listing suppressed, whatever it is. 9 times out of 10, there is a help page that walks you through it. Step 2 is to check Seller University. We have webinars just like this one, video tutorials and step-by-step guides covering almost every topic. You are literally in one of these webinars right now. Step 3 is if self-service does not resolve your issue, contact seller support. You would navigate to help and then get support. But here is the critical thing. You need to be specific. Include the ASIN, the order ID, or the exact error message. The difference between I have a problem with my listing and I am getting error 5665 when creating a shipping plan for ASIN, blah, 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 is the difference between being bounced around for days and getting an answer in hours. Do not just say it is not working. Tell us what you have tried, what happened, and what you expected to happen. Treat it like you are reporting a bug or going to a doctor consultation. Remember that the more detail, the faster we can get into fixing the issue. But that's enough from me, your host and lead presenter here. I'm now going to hand over to my esteemed colleague, Nick, to take us through Prime Day and how to be deals ready. Over to you, Nick.
Afternoon, everyone. So yeah, as Sasha alluded, we're going to cover some key dates before we head into some of the top questions that everyone's asked in previous webinars. So yeah, Prime Day, it's real, it's happening. The first one in South Africa. It's time to get really excited about that. But yeah, as you can see on the screen, some key dates. So deal sourcing opened on the 3rd of June when the launch announcement went out. So the submissions closed tomorrow. So hard close tomorrow, end of day, to submit your deals for the event. You really want to get these in. It's going to be epic. So yeah, as you can see, the event's going to run from the 23rd to the 29th of June. So 7 full days to align with the global event. And it's really happening, and it's happening this month. But yeah, like I alluded to, so 3 June they open, 10 June tomorrow the submissions close. And then also just an important note when it comes to FBA inbounding deadline, because Prime Day is FBA only, you have to have your stock in our warehouse for your deals to be eligible. So that's the 15th of June. And that's not particularly a hard deadline. It's just something we advise so that by the time your stock gets to receiving and by the time we get to the beginning of the event, your stock can be received and it's in stock and ready to go live when the event begins. So if you haven't submitted yet, submit now. Start planning to send your stock ASAP so that it's there at least by the 15th and can be received and ready to go when the event starts. Cool. So let's move on to some of the top questions that you guys have asked. So some of the top questions. As you can see, questions are there. Let me just go through. So these are real questions from people who from previous webinars, and obviously many of you may have been in those, but we're just going to go over some of the key ones. So one of the questions that gets asked a lot is, how do I increase my chances of participating in Prime deals? So first, FBA. Your products have to be fulfilled via FBA for Prime. It's a hard requirement. It cannot be an MFN. It cannot be through EasyShip. It has to be through MFN and fulfilled through our warehouse. So that's really, really important. And again, to emphasize the inbounding deadline, 15th of June, just to account for enough time for your stock to be received. Then the second question, can products without reviews participate? So essentially, with Prime, we want the best quality deals on site. So if your product does have star rating or reviews, we recommend it has to be at least 3 stars or above. If your product doesn't have any review ratings, then it's fine. It's eligible to go in. So if it does have, they need to be at least 3 stars. If it doesn't have any, you're more than welcome to submit them. Obviously, if it does have reviews, it's just better for customers to see the experience that others have had, and it just increases your chance for conversion. So the higher the rating, the better, but it doesn't have any. Maybe Prime will be the first time you get some reviews on your products. Third question, so what's the minimum discount required? So if you've ever submitted a deal before or received communication from your account manager or the promotions team, you'll know that it's 15% off or 500 Rand off your current price. So the current price you currently have the product selling for on the store right now, it needs to be at least 15% off that price. One of the important things to note is that that's obviously the minimum discount required. For an ASIN product to feature on a deal on Amazon store, it has to at least be the lowest price in the last 30 days. So always an important thing to note. Even if you meet the minimum discount required, but it's not the lowest price in the last 30 days, then your ASIN is probably not going to feature on the store as a deal. So just something to keep in mind as well. Always track, what prices you've offered your products at, especially if you want to run them on promotion. So just an important one to note there. Then fourth question was, so what are deal types? So there's basically two different types of deals and then two other types of promotion types that you can run. So the two deal types are best deals, which basically run the duration of the event or in any other circumstances, basically like 7 to 14 days. These are best deals. They give you top visibility and maximum like exposure during the event. Then you also get lightning deals, which are just limited hours. They run 12 to 24 hours. And it's usually basically like a flash sale energy or time bound. You're trying to, get customers to buy on impulse essentially. So basically, those are the two deal types. You then also get prime coupons and prime exclusive discounts. So basically, the qualifying criteria here is just a little bit less than deals would be. Something to note about these also is they're entirely self-service. So you set them up entirely yourself through Seller Central. Go there, go to the main menu, advertising, you'll see promotions set up there, and you can access those self-service tools through there and set up those promotion types as well if you want to have a mixture of all of them during the event. Cool. And then also, must my deals be Prime exclusive? So yes, for a Prime Day event, there must be Prime exclusive deals. There's no exceptions. If it's not Prime exclusive, it won't appear on the page and it won't feature. So for those 7 days, every deal or promotion you see on site will be Prime exclusive. Okay, awesome. Let's just move on to so basically how to submit a deal or how the eligibility requirements work. So like, what do I actually need to submit a deal? So again, must be fulfilled through FBA. This is mandatory. It has to be fulfilled through FBA. Something else to note is your account must be in good standing, or your feedback rating on your seller account must be at least 3 stars. So just go and have a look at that. You must have no active policy violations, no suspensions, no account health warnings that haven't been resolved as of yet to give you your feedback rating of at least 3 stars or above. Again, minimum discount requirement of 15% of your current price, and always important to note, the deal price always must be the lowest price in the last 30 days. Cool, now we're going to move on to how you submit deals. So there's 2 ways in which you can do this. There's an entirely self-service mechanism, which you can do via Seller Central. So if you open up your Seller Central right now, you go to advertising, you click on deals, you click create new deal, and you'll see all your deal recommendations pop up there. So it'll recommend the deal ASIN and the deal types, either best deal, lightning deal. So the important thing to note with self-service is it's entirely recommendation based. So you can only create deals on the ASINs that are recommended there. That doesn't mean you can't submit other ASINs. That's the other avenue. So the full service avenue then exists. You can send an email to za-promotions@amazon.com. You can reach out to the team there. They'll fill in on all the submission requirements, and they usually just send you a submission sheet. You fill that out. It's fairly simple with all the information required. You send that back, process, review, and then you'll get a confirmation as to what's been accepted, what hasn't, what actions you can take from there. But yeah, those are essentially the 2 avenues: the self-service avenue through Seller Central, and the manual avenue through filling out an Excel sheet, sending it to our promotions team for them to review. And again, deadline tomorrow, 10 June, no extensions. Please submit now. If you need any more information, email that email address and someone will reach out to you and get back to you. But yeah, I think that's all from my side. We're gonna move on to Moa's section now. So take us away.
All right, guys. Thank you, Nicholas, and thank you, Sasha. Yeah, guys, my name is Mo, and I'll be taking you through advertising today. So yeah, let's jump straight into it. So the number 1 question we typically ask is, when should I use each ad type? So before I go and answer that, I just want to speak about the 4 advertising options we have at Amazon. So number 1 is sponsored products. Number 2 is sponsored brands. Number 3 is sponsored display. And then the 4th one is brand stores. And I'll go into what the difference is between them and which one to use when. So let me make this really simple, right? Sponsored products is where everyone should start. That is your starting point. Because it is available to all sellers, you do not need to be a brand owner to do this, or you do not need brand registry. So how it works is that your ads will appear in the search results on the and on the product detail pages, right? So we use a cost per click model. So you only pay when somebody clicks into your specific ad. And the brilliant thing about this is that your ad automatically uses the existing product image and titles. So you don't need to have any, graphic design skills or any kind of real creative input. You can simply launch a campaign in minutes, right? So that's sponsored products. On sponsored brands, so what are they? Sponsored brands are the banner ads you see at the very top of search results. So if you type in something and you'll see just above, before you get to the search results, you may see kind of a brand page there that will show numerous products or just branding. But essentially, they show your brand logo, a custom headline, and up to 3 products. And these require brand registry. So sponsored brand is only for brand owners. Similarly, sponsored display, this also requires brand registry. So you need to be a brand owner for this. But sponsored ads is quite exciting because sponsored display lets you retarget shoppers who have viewed your products but did not purchase. And the cool thing about this is that you can even show your ads on your own product pages or on competitors' product pages. But just an important reminder here that you need to be a brand owner or be given the necessary permissions from whoever the brand owner is. They need to give you those permissions on Seller Central in their Amazon account. Last but not least is brand stores. So brand stores give you your own mini website within Amazon. So it's really nice because it gives you kind of like a curated shopping experience for your brand. So again, of course, for this one, brand registry is required, or whoever the brand owner is needs to give you their permissions on their Seller Central, right? So essentially, guys, what is the simple answer? So the simple answer is, if you are new to advertising, always start with sponsored products. It is the one tool that's available to everyone, and it pairs perfectly with your Prime Day deals. Remember that deals will get you the badge and ads gets you the eyeballs, right? And you want to use both together during Prime Days, as this will maximize your results. If you're already a brand owner and have brand registry, we highly recommend layering in sponsored brands and sponsored display for a full funnel approach. But sponsored products is essentially your foundation. So we always recommend start with sponsored products, then do sponsored brands, then go to sponsored display. So yeah, thank you for that. On to the next one. Okay, guys, this is where the real magic happens at Amazon, guys. Combining deals and ads together. This drives the maximum impact. So think of it this way, guys. Deals create urgency, right? You get the Prime Day badge, you've got great pricing, they put you on the event page, and it gives customers a compelling reason to buy right now with a limited time discount, right? But then ads, what ads does is drives the traffic. They put your products in front of the customers who are actively searching for what you sell. So without ads, you're purely relying on organic discovery alone, which is why we say combine deals and ads together. So essentially what happens is when you combine deals and ads together, you get a compounding effect. Your deal makes the offer irresistible to customers, and your ads make sure people actually see your great products, right? And then together, they maximize both visibility and conversions. Now, we know that you're obviously here and curious to hear about Prime Day. So what are our specific tips for Prime Day, right? So first, increase your daily budgets by 50 to 100% during the event. Prime Day will obviously be big volume traffic period. So the traffic will surge during this day. And if your budget runs out midday, you are missing afternoon and evening shoppers. And you do not want your ads switching off during the biggest shopping events of the year, especially in the afternoons and evenings, right? The second tip that we can give you is start your campaigns now. Start them today. Do not wait until the 23rd. You need 1 to 2 weeks of data for the algorithm to learn which keywords convert. A brand new campaign launched on day 1 of Prime Day will almost certainly not perform as well as one that has been running and that has been optimizing for 2 weeks, right? So just important to remember that. Third, target your own ASINs to defend your product pages from competitors, and then strategically also target competitor ASINs to steal their traffic. This is called the defense and offensive strategy. So really cool tip and trick there to really boost your sales there. And then fourth, and this is extremely crucial, please guys, make sure that your listing is optimized before you spend money on ads. Before you even run ads, make sure that your product detail page is looking cool. It's looking great. So remember that high quality images, a clear title, detailed bullet points, and competitive pricing are some of the things that go into creating a great listing, right? Remember that if your listing is weak, ads will drive traffic that will not convert. So essentially, you're just burning money instead of actually getting people to convert, right? And then fifth, last but not least, remember to monitor your campaign daily during the event. A few things to specifically focus on. Check your spend, check your ACoS, which is your advertising cost of sales, and then check your budget utilization. Like we said earlier, you need to make sure that you are using up the whole budget so your products get an opportunity to shine. And then also just keep track of your spend so that your budget doesn't get out of control. Remember that if a campaign is performing well, you notice, 3 days, 4 days in that your campaign is performing well, we highly recommend increasing the budget on those campaigns. Because it'll obviously just drive more traffic. And if you have campaigns, inversely, if you have campaigns that are not performing well, just pause it and reallocate the budget into the ones that are working really well. So remember to be active, not passive, when it comes to setting up your ads. So last but not least, guys, deals plus ads equals your Prime Day strategy in a nutshell. Neither one alone is enough. Use both together and give yourself the best possible chance of making this first Prime Day a success for your business. Okay, I'm going to pass back on to our host MC, Sasha.
Thanks very much, Mo, and absolutely fantastic tips and tricks that you and Nicholas have both given to our sellers, and lots of good engagement and questions in the chat, both moderated and sort of direct messaging to sellers. And if you've just joined us, don't stress at all. Welcome to our open class session where we have a deals and advertising focus today in preparation for Prime Day happening from the 23rd to the 29th of June. But if you've got any other questions, we do have the time to answer anything that might be trending, anything that might be burning. You came here today with a specific intention of getting some help, so let's help you as best as we can. And what you can see here on your screen now currently are some questions from previous sessions, and these are real questions from sellers from previous webinars that we've had. I'm not making these up. These came directly from your chat messages and from seller support contacts. So let me walk through each category really quickly, give you a little bit more time to ask some questions, because after this we will be going into our Q&A where we'll be hearing both from Moa and from Nicholas some top tips and tricks and some insight to help you get you to where you need to be for both Prime Day and beyond, because obviously selling on Amazon is not going to stop on the 29th of June. There's the 30th and the rest of eternity, basically, for you to be selling in. So let's go through these categorical questions that we have here. The first one being registration and login. Now, the number one issue that we see is sellers trying to register with a personal email address. You need or we require that business email, not a Gmail or Yahoo or Hotmail. You can if you want to, but sometimes these things do cause a couple of issues because they might be linked to other Amazon services that you might not be aware of. For example, using your personal Gmail email address for your customer Amazon account or for your Prime Video might cause issues with your selling account. That R1.15 verification charge that Amazon puts through to confirm your card is valid. Some banks do block this as a suspicious transaction. And if this does happen, please do call your bank and whitelist the charge, then try again. Two-factor authentication loops can usually be resolved by clearing your browser cache or switching to Chrome. And the name on your card must match the name on your account exactly. No nicknames, no abbreviations. This can, may, and usually does cause issues, which is why we'd like to bring this to your attention. Next up, we have listings and brand restrictions. And with that, we've seen a lot of error 5461 issues coming up. in our previous sessions. Now, this error means that you are trying to create a listing for a brand that is not registered on Amazon. You either need to apply for brand registry or get authorization from the brand owner. If brand registry declined your application, check that the brand name you entered matches your trademark registration exactly, character for character. For handmade products without a trademark, you can apply for a GTIN exemption in SellerCentral under Add a Product. And if your products are not appearing in search, check your back-end keywords, your category assignment, and make sure your listing is not suppressed. Last up in our top hits from our last session is FBA and fulfillment. FBA, as a reminder, is fulfillment by Amazon, and you need to be able to utilize this in order to be eligible for Prime in 2026 with us here at Amazon South Africa. Now, if your stock is stuck on inbound for more than 7 days, we urge you to open a case with seller support and include your shipment ID. Carrier Central issues are usually resolved by refreshing the page or trying a different browser, but this should also be managed through the send to Amazon process, or if utilizing 2Ship by your dedicated carrier that will be inbounding the stock to the fulfillment center on your behalf. For polybag suppliers in South Africa, you can check the service provider network to see if our current service providers are offering this as a service or to give you guidance. And if your listing is stuck in FBM or fulfillment by merchant mode and will not switch to FBA, make sure you have created an FBA offer for that ASIN, which is a separate step from just having a listing. Right. So, before we open up the floor for your questions, let me give you the full toolkit of resources available to you, and we urge you to keep these bookmarked. Any links that are down in the chat below, whether they're in our house rules or in the messages that our moderation team is giving to you, I encourage you to get that bookmarked. And I'll also ask one of our moderators at this stage to please drop in the webinar calendar that we have for June and the beginning of July that relates to all the topics that get you ready as a seller for being successful for Amazon, but especially with regards to preparing you for Prime Day, we are having a webinar blitz, lots of different topics that you can register for also as well. So that should be coming in the chat anytime now, but let's go back to those resources. And your first one is the SellerCentral Help Hub. This is your first stop for any question. Like I said earlier, you can use that search bar at the top of SellerCentral, type in your issue in plain language, and 9 times out of 10, you will find a help page that walks you through it. Number 2 is seller support. And when self-service doesn't resolve it, we are asking you to navigate to help, then you get support, and you open up a case. The single most important thing that you can do in this regard when reaching out to seller support, which is different from account health support, please understand the differentiation between when you need general health for seller support and when there's something impacting on your account health, reaching out to our account health support team through the account health dashboard. So going back to reaching out to seller support, remember to include your ASIN, the order ID, or that exact error message, and it's going to help you get that resolution much quicker than being bounced back and forth asking to confirm what the issue is and what you've tried. Remember, same like going for a doctor's consultation. You're going to tell the doctor when you started to feel sick, what you've been taking in the lead up to this, what has worked and what hasn't. It's that basic same scenario, right? So step 3, or number 3 rather, is Seller University. And this is where you can register for webinars just like this one. Like I said there down in the bottom in the chat, thank you, Kelly, is our webinar calendar for June and the beginning of July. We run sessions every week on different topics, and you can always go to sellercentral.amazon.co.za/learn to see that full schedule and register. Number 4 is that service provider network. If you need professional hands-on help with listings, photography, advertising, compliance, or account management, these are vetted providers who specialize in helping Amazon sellers just like yourselves. That link is also down in the chat box below. Otherwise, you can navigate to sellercentral.amazon.co.za/welcome/SPN. And last but not least is our Seller Success Center here in Cape Town, where we are actually coming to you live presenting this webinar today. And this is not just a building, it is your partner in growing your Amazon business. Whether you need help setting up your account, improving your listings, or building your brand store, the team is there to support you, or here today. You can book a virtual session if you are not in Cape Town. Simply book a slot online and they will connect with you. And all of these links should be in the chat up if you scroll up to the top where our house rules are, and some of those links for the webinar also in the calendar that Kelly shared. All right, this is the structured part of today's presentation done, and now it's over to you. The floor is open. If you have any questions over and above what has already been asked in the chat, please drop it in the chat now. It can be covering deals, advertising, registrations, listing, fulfillment, payments, anything at all, and we will work through as many as we can because we do still have time. And remember, there are no silly questions here. If you are thinking it, somebody else is probably too. And I want to remind you, because it's very important, that those deal submissions close tomorrow, the 10th of June. So if you're sitting there unsure about whether your product is eligible or how to submit or what price to set, ask us now. This is your last chance to get clarity before that deadline hits. All right, while we're just fielding some of the questions that will be coming through in the chat, I'm going to ask you, please, if possible, what we're going to do now is I'm just going to pop a little survey on your screen while we're going through the Q&A to ask you to take a little bit of time to fill this out. It really does help us a lot in terms of ensuring that the content that we're creating for these webinars is applicable for you, that it's helpful, not too concerned too much about what you think of us as presenters. It does help and ensures, if we're speaking too fast or too slow or whatever the case may be, that we're ensuring that we're doing what's right for you. But more importantly is the topics that we're covering. And of course, there is a little text box also at the bottom in case there's any other feedback that you're wanting to give us. So let me take a look at what has happened in the chat so far so that we can recap and see where we're at. The first question, good day. Oh, I remember this one because I moderated it while we were going. I was able to acquire a letter of authorization from the brand owner. I'm not sure where to upload it, as well as further steps to take. So 100%, there are a couple of opportunities that you can utilize in order to submit this particular letter, but the steps that I put in chat are very clear. You would go to your SellerCentral account and then click on catalog and adding the products. You would search for that product that you want to sell, and then a little apply to sell icon should pop up, or part of that process in your listing should prompt you to apply to sell, either through the listing creation, or once that listing is created, it would say, listing suppressed, fixed listing issue, and it's going to ask you to apply to sell. You'll then be prompted to upload that letter of authorization, where you can upload it straight through there in the similar process like you would uploading your invoices for the brand name authorization or the authority to sell a product. And if you've already been asked for that documentation via a product compliance request, you would go through to performance, then your account health, then to product compliance requests, manage your compliance, and upload it there instead. If you're having any sorts of issues, like I said, use that search bar at the top of Seller Central or reach out to Seller Support and they will be able to assist you. Nicholas, the next question in our chat actually came up through to you. And in fact, Nancy was asking a couple of great questions, both to you and to Moa. So let's field this one asking about, do you need to be on FBA to run a Prime deal? And I think, Nick, over and above this, let's talk a little bit about what sellers can do if they aren't able to meet the deadlines for FBA, sending their shipment through to us. How can they still participate in this really big event if they aren't necessarily able to be Prime eligible?
Great question, Sasha. So obviously FBA is Prime for Prime. Like to have a Prime deal, to be involved in there, you obviously need to be an FBA. But if you can't actually make that happen, it's not that it blocks you entirely from taking part during the event. Like keep your listings as good quality, offer competitive pricing, the great thing about the Prime Day event is there's just going to be an extreme amount of traffic coming through the site. So you still want to be as prepared as you can. Have your products competitively priced. Have enough stock awaiting. If you fill through MFN, Easy Ship, make sure that your stock is as up to date as possible and your offerings are all there. The listing quality is good. You can obviously still run ads as Mo spoke to, just to direct some traffic towards your products in that sense. But yeah, it's not a it won't exclude you entirely from being part of the event. It'll just exclude you from maybe being part of the you know the the most important part of that period. But maintaining every other good quality metric on your catalog and your products is still really important, and especially afterwards. I think a lot of people or a lot of sellers forget is that you have an after effect after an event, especially on the site. So even though you're running promotions and you're maybe taking a hit on your margin in that sense, the after effect or the halo effect after the event is really important. So that's why when you send stock, try and anticipate how much is going to sell during the event and afterwards, so that when your products go back to being priced at the regular price, everyone that's still shopping post that will buy at your regular price, and you kind of make back that bit that you may have lost in your margin when you were offering really good discounts. So something to keep in mind as well.
Fantastic. 100%. Thank you very much. Another one, not another one. Let's see if we can field it now with you, Moa. When we're taking a look now at trying to be Prime eligible and utilizing the sponsored ads, let's say now I'm still in that situation where I'm not able to participate in Prime. How can I utilize advertising optimization to boost my sales, seeing as this period is going to bring a lot of new customers and traffic to the store?
Yeah, fantastic. And thank you for that question. So I think, guys, it's important to remember that you need to leverage the different tools we have on Amazon during high traffic events. So similar to kind of like what Nicholas was saying was a really good point. Maybe, you can't get your stock into FBA in time. Maybe you're not at that level in your business, or you just want to use a different fulfillment method, whatever the case might be, right? That doesn't mean that you can't still benefit from kind of Prime Day. Like Nicholas was saying, there's going to be a lot, and Sasha was saying, there's going to be a lot of natural traffic going towards the website. So even if you aren't able to run deals, there is still an opportunity to run ads. Ads is agnostic of any event. You can run ads at any time of day, on any products, at any time during any period. So what I would highly recommend is that even if you aren't going to be having deals running on Prime Day, and even better if you are, of course, but even if you're not, there is still an opportunity for you to essentially kind of like run ads. And I touched on it a little bit in my section when I was speaking. You can also be strategic about your ads, right? So I would say that maybe focus on top of search ads. So when people type in, let's just say you sell shampoo and people type in shampoo, you want to make sure that you are being quite aggressive in terms of your ads, in terms of top of search. So I think identifying top of search would be the first thing I would recommend, because that still allows you to cut through the noise, even if products are on deal, because sponsored products always show up as the first product. And then the second thing I would also recommend is also just to remember to target product detail pages. Like I said a little bit earlier, you can either defend your own listings by putting sponsored advertising on your own product detail pages, or what a lot of sellers do to try to be a little bit more aggressive is to put your ad on a competitor page. So let's just say, for instance, you have a shampoo business, your competitor sells conditioners, for instance. You can go target one of their conditioner pages to put your shampoos on there, just as an example. So yeah, there's still a lot of great opportunities, guys. Even if you can't run Prime Day deals, like I said, there's going to be natural organic traffic there. So it's important that you know that even if you're not running deals, you are running ads, so you can drive that visibility towards your products.
That we can for our sellers, right? How would we take a look at, let's say I'm a seller and I've got 20 products in my product line, right? How would let's say it's 10 branded and 10 unbranded. Maybe it's got enough order history, it's eligible for deals, we're not worried about that too much or whatever. How would you recommend utilizing all of these levers? Mo, we'll start with you first, and then we'll ask Nick in terms of like deals for Prime and beyond, because Prime Day is, of course, not the only event that we have. We do everyday essentials. We do what you call these things, payday deals. There's always the big smile sales. There's always these opportunities, which is why we're saying it's not just about preparing you for Prime, it's preparing you for everything in relation, right? So how would you recommend, if I'm a seller, I've got 20 products, 10 branded, 10 generic or whatever. How can I utilize all of these levers, the sponsored ads, the sponsored displays, to get my products to where they need to be in order for me to see the results that I know I should be able to get on the Amazon store?
Sorry, go on.
Muted. They unmuted. Sorry, apologies for that. No stress. Our moderation team unmuted you there, so please start again for us.
Thank you. So that was a fantastic question, Sasha. So I'm going to answer in two ways. I think it's for resellers and then for brand owners, right? So from a pure reseller, you can only use sponsored products unless, like I said earlier, unless you contact the person who's in charge of the Amazon Seller Central account and they give you those user permissions. So on that one, it's quite an easy answer because you use sponsored products, right? But what I would typically recommend there, or what we typically recommend at Amazon is, so 3 weeks before any big deal event goes live is typically when we want you to start running ads. And the reasoning behind that is obviously the algorithm needs time to learn your products, to see which shoppers are looking at your product, to see what time people are shopping for your product. So if as soon as today you can start ads, already start running ads, because it's going to give you a head start versus people that think, oh no, Prime Day is tomorrow, Prime Day just kicked off. Now they're starting to sell. Now they want to start running ads. I think get ahead of the curve and already run ads now, number one. Number two, just to add on to that, a lot of people will come to me with the question, what do I run on, right? Maybe you're a newer seller. Like I said, you've got a mix of brand owner, and I'll touch on the brand owners in a little bit. But if you are a newer seller, and even if you don't know what to put in, always start with your top selling products. You must have sold some kind of product. And if not, you can do a lot of market research. You can look on the homepage of Amazon. You can see top sellers, etc., etc. So yeah, for resellers, it's quite easy. Start your sponsored product campaigns early. And then we always recommend also not cutting your ad until 48 hours after the event ends, because a lot of people get FOMO where they see a great deal and then they missed out and they think, oh man, what if it becomes more expensive in 2 weeks? So we do actually tend to see some residual sales then. But for brand owners, I think it's a little bit of, it is a little bit more fruitful. And the reason I say that is because all of the advertising options are available to you, right? So we'd still say start with sponsored products, similar to like what we said with the resellers. But then over and above that, right, you also have sponsored brands and sponsored display to play with, right? And if you think of them as three different tools, sponsored products is for conversion, for pure conversion. That's why we say put your top products on there, because it comes on the product detail pages and in the search results. Sponsored brands is more your pure marketing play. It's kind of like having a billboard when you drive on the highway, right? But it's a kind of like a billboard on Amazon above the search results. So that one is more your pure marketing play. You can put nice graphics, designs, logos and stuff. I think that's really like, wow, what is this brand? Let me click in and see what this brand is about, right? And then last but not least, super powerful tool that I think is probably the least underutilized of the three is the sponsored display. I think sponsored display is such a powerful tool, but there's not a lot of sellers using it at the moment. And I think that's a great opportunity for you to kind of get ahead of the curve and to really boost your sales, because sponsored display will look at who's been looking at your products throughout since you've been selling on Amazon. And what it does is that it can retarget them on and off of Amazon. So I'm sure everyone's had this experience. You go onto Amazon, you see a product, you're thinking, ish, payday is a bit far, I can't buy this now. You go onto Instagram and then something pops up and it's an Amazon ad speaking about that product. That's essentially how sponsored display can work. It can retarget you on and off of Amazon. So if you are a brand owner, I would highly recommend utilizing all three of these solutions, and brand stores falls technically under sponsored display because you can lead them to your brand store. We would recommend using all the advertising solutions available, but do them also in the correct order. So don't start with sponsored display because that's for retargeting, right? You have nothing to retarget if you start with that. So start sponsored products, then go to sponsored brands, then go to sponsored display. So I think that it from an ads perspective. Just one last thing I want to add before passing on to Nicholas is also remember that even though this is a deals and ad session, something like FBA, like Sasha mentioned, super important, guys. One, you won't be able to partake in Prime Day, but also just general best practice at Amazon is FBA. And the reason behind that is because we know that we can deliver the best customer experience. We can give you same day and next day delivery, right? But over and above that, when you have your product on Amazon, it shows that it's shipped by Amazon. It brings a lot of trust to the customers to say, okay, I know that this is actually sold by Amazon. I'm not going to get, like a fly-by-night marketplace seller or whatever the case might be, right? So yeah, that does have a really important part to play. So try and make sure your products are in FBA as well. Thank you. On to Nicholas.
Yeah, just like Mo mentioned with ads, with promotions, or I would say promotions in general, not just deals, because there are other promotional types, but you kind of think of it this way and having an always on approach. So say you have 20 products, as Sasha mentioned, you do a little bit of what's called like an ABC analysis of your products. So A would be your hero products, the ones you know sell well, you have good stock depth on. But you just know these sell well and they convert well. So those are your hero products. Those you outline for the HVEs, for the payday drops, for Prime Day, for all our big tier one, high velocity, high traffic events where you know there's going to be a lot of people going onto the site and you can offer really good prices and you have a lot of stock depth. To meet with these products. So that would be like your hero products. Outline those for the big events. You know they're going to sell well. You know they move well. Then you kind of move on to your what's called your B products, or just like the core the rest of your catalog, the middle ground. You look at those. Those you can use for what we call BAU or business as usual deals. So you can run deals at any time. On the store, either via SellerCentral through the self-service mechanism or submitting them to our promotions team. So that would be the core catalog, the rest of your catalog. Those that move slightly well, not as great as your hero products. You can meet the deal requirement for them, so the minimum discount percentages. You can meet the stock demand, that sort of thing. So that would be where you go with those, and then you can your long tail products would be the C section. So products that don't move so well, the new products. You can utilize the other promotional tools for those, so coupons or vouchers, for instance, primary exclusive discounts, those sorts of products. Just because there's less eligibility requirements, you can also run them over a longer time. So vouchers or coupons you can run for up to 90 days, and price discounts you can run for up to 30 days. So less eligibility requirements, also entirely self-service, so you can set when you want to run them, how you want to. With vouchers or coupons, you actually set a budget. They also do have featured space, so you do get some extra visibility on them, not as much as you would get with deals. But yeah, that's just a way to think about it. So have an always on promotional strategy and combine that with your ads to get all the extra data on those ASINs as well. Having them together, just get as much data from your customers as possible. You know when they buy, what they do, what they're searching, if it's a price point thing, if they're clicking through, who they are, what time. Yeah, so it's important to think about it in that sense. But specifically for Prime Day, you obviously want your hero products. Those are the ones you want to run, the ones you know people are going to buy and see. So yeah.
Sorry, I just wanted to add another thing onto this, because I think Nicholas mentioned something super, super, super important, and I think it's for promotions, for deals and ads, right? Is that, guys, all the top sellers that we've seen typically always have always on activity. And I think where a lot of sellers lose out, I can speak specifically for ads, is that they think, okay, there's a high velocity event, I'm going to advertise just for these 2 weeks, and then they do this constant switching on and switching off of ads. But I know specifically from an ads lens, our algorithm rewards consistency. So if you've got a big portfolio, like in Sasha's example, where you have 10 that are reseller, 10 that are brands, take those 20 brands and create and you can even work with us to create almost like an ads calendar or even a deals calendar, where you know that you're consistently having something in your catalog that is being promoted. Because I know for ads specifically, our algorithm rewards patience and consistency. And as soon as you just have something always on, you start to build that brand resonance with your consumers. You always have people looking at your product. So yeah, I just wanted to really emphasize the point that Nick said. Consistency is so important, and having some kind of always on promotion or deal is highly recommended. And sellers that do the strategy typically tend to see really great returns. So yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I think that's, like you said, really important. Like, don't get discouraged if you know, run a deal once and you don't get any sales, you don't generate anything. Like, it might happen. It might just be the wrong time. You might not have seen the right customers, but you really can be consistent. Do it throughout your product range so that you can genuinely get the data and feedback from what you're selling, and then you'll realize what works, and then you optimize from there.
Perfect, 100%. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for that insight. I think over and above that, and there's a couple of things I want to touch on in the last few minutes that we have here while we are wrapping up. Just a friendly reminder that we do have the survey that we are asking you to fill in to give us feedback on today's session. If you do want a little bit more information in terms of how ads work, the nitty-gritty, and how to set up whatever you need set up, we do have an advertising webinar on the, let me not misspeak, Thursday the 18th of June at 11 o'clock South African Standard Time. Everything is in that webinar calendar that Kelly shared earlier, as well as the fact that on our Sell on Amazon YouTube channel, we do have step-by-step walkthroughs. There was a deals webinar, I think, that happened on Friday of last week that was also uploaded. So if there's anything that we haven't covered yet today, please feel free to go to our Sell on Amazon YouTube channel. In fact, let me see if I can just find this link and then just drop it into the chat quickly there for you so that it's a little bit easier. You can go and take a look at that YouTube channel today. If the 18th is too far, we have a version of all of our webinars that are up there to help you and give you some guidance. I also did drop today's presentation in the chat as well. So at a later stage when this webinar, you're very, very welcome, Nancy. And this is why these sessions are here, right? We're bringing these subject matter experts to answer your questions and give you a little bit more insight, and to also encourage you over and above everything that you're doing on Amazon in your store. There's nothing stopping you from advertising outside of the store, right? If we equate amazon.co.za to a mall, right? Your store is the shop inside of the mall. We give you that space. You pay your R1.15 as your sort of rental fee to the landlord. But what you're going to put into that store and how you're going to advertise is all up to you. We can give you the guidance. We can talk about listing optimization, how to utilize all these tools and incentives and these levers to help you grow. But over and above this, like the Italians say, soprattutto, over and above everything else, right? You can be advertising through your own marketing channels. You can be utilizing social media. You can be doing whatever you need to be advertising your product over and above what you're doing with us, right? Obviously, when our customers are coming to the store, they know what it is they're looking for, which is why the keywords, targeted keywords, your bullet points, your descriptions, your product titles, your images, those are all important, right? But these are customers that I guess in any case would be coming on to Amazon. Does your pre-existing customer base know that you're selling on Amazon? And if not, how do you market to them? How do you get the word out there, right? How do you increase your marketability? And then over and above all of that, how do you bring in other customer bases as well? How do you let other people know, hey, I'm selling on Amazon. Don't go here. Don't go there. Don't go to this store, to that store. You don't have to come to my physical store because I'm selling online, right? These are all of the things that you can be utilizing to help you. We really do encourage you come to these sessions. You come to these webinars. You ask the questions. You come to our Seller Success Center. You reach out to us so that we're here to ensure that everything that we're doing is supporting you as best as possible. And I think with that, let me recap quickly. I'm not too sure if now on your screen you're able to see the recap. Maybe if I click on this button, yes, you can. And then I don't know where I move the faces. Kelly, if there's somewhere where the faces are supposed to be going, please put them where they need to be. I just want to quickly recap what we've covered today before we close so that we're all on the same page and you know what your action items are when you leave today's webinar. So deals and Prime Day, like we said, the first ever Prime Day for South Africa running from the 23rd to the 29th of June. Those deal submissions close tomorrow, the 10th of June. So if you haven't submitted yet, do it tonight. Your FBA inventory needs to be inbounded by the 15th of June. As long as that stock and that inventory stays up throughout the whole of Prime, that would be perfect. And remember, those deals need to be Prime exclusive. You need that minimum 15% discount, and your deal price must beat the lowest price from the last 30 days. With regards to advertising, we spoke about sponsored ads and sponsored products and sponsored everything. And sponsored products is your starting point and is available to all sellers. Sponsored brands and sponsored display require brand registry. The most important thing, optimize your listings before you spend money on ads. Ads drive traffic to your product page, and if that page is not compelling, you are paying for clicks that do not convert. And that golden rule that Moa mentioned, pair your deals with sponsored ads during Prime Day for maximum visibility. Deals give you the badge, ads give you the eyeballs. We also tackled those general questions. Registration requires a business email, not a personal one. If you're hitting brand restrictions on listings, check whether the brand is registered on Amazon. Get your FBA inventory inbounded by the 15th if you want to participate in that Prime Day. And of course, check that account health dashboard daily. It takes 30 seconds to keep an eye on, and it prevents those surprises that can actually impact not only on your account health, but it could lead to the suspension of your account or deactivation. We spoke about resources. Your SellerCentral Help Hub should be your first stop. That service provider network has vetted professionals who can help hands-on. And of course, the Seller Success Center here in Cape Town offers both in-person and virtual support. Please, 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 please fill in that survey that has popped up in the chat. It just takes 30 seconds of your time and genuinely helps us make these sessions better. Your feedback tells us what topics to cover next and what format works best for you. But with all that being said, thank you very much for joining today's open class session. We hope that you are walking away with clarity on your deals, your advertising strategy, and your next steps for Prime Day. I want to leave you with 3 very important things. If there's nothing else you take away from today, take away these 3 things. Number 1, deal submissions close tomorrow. If you haven't submitted, do it tonight. You can go to SellerCentral, advertising, then deals, and get your promotions in. If you're confused or you don't know what's going on and you need some assistance, send an email to that ZA Promotions email address. I think it is down below in the chat, but don't miss this deadline. If you miss the 10th, you miss Prime Day, right? But there are those other levers you can utilize that Nick recommended, like your coupons and your vouchers. But 3 key things. Deal submissions close tomorrow. Number 2, get your FBA inventory inbounded by the 15th of June, which is 1 week from today. Number 3, set up your sponsored ads campaigns now. Don't wait until the 23rd. Get them live this week so that they have time to gather that data and optimize before the event starts. And remember, deals get you the badge, ads get you the eyeballs. Use both together. We do have a couple of open class sessions that are coming up on different topics with a similar kind of format, your questions and our answers. Keep an eye on SellerCentral dashboard for that registration link, or utilize the webinar calendar that Kelly shared in the chat below. And today's recording will be available on the Sell on Amazon South Africa's YouTube channel, so you can revisit anything we've covered today, share it with your team, utilize that presentation that I dropped down in the chat to supplement your learning. But from myself, Sasha, and from my fantastic colleagues, Nicholas and Moa, as well as our moderation team, Kelly and Rafilwe, thank you very much for being part of the Amazon South Africa seller community. Good luck with Prime Day, happy selling, and of course, always work hard, have fun, and make history. Ciao for now.